and we have 2 more on a video. So we, of course, want to give them the space to share their stories. The next one up is Christina Carleton. She's the executive director of Norway House, which is based in Minneapolis. And she might say a little bit more about just when Norway House came to be and how it came to be. Augsburg University, which I represent, work closely with Norway House. I actually have a student from Volda coming to Augsburg in the spring semester who's going to be an intern at Norway House in planning and administration. So there's lots of crossovers. And Christina's presentation today is going to be on living side by side, a neighborhood case study in building a relationship among indigenous, long-established immigrant, and newer migrant groups in Minneapolis.
Good afternoon, good morning from Minneapolis. Thank you so much for inviting us to be a part of this conference. My name is Christina Carleton. I'm the executive director here at Norway House, and our mission is to connect contemporary Norway and the United States through arts, business, and culture. Thank you so much to everyone for putting this conference on. It's just wonderful to be a part of the Heyerdahl Conference on Migration and Identity. With today's topic in mind, I'd like to present you with a little case study in people living side by side from different backgrounds, balancing ties to their identities with living and working together in community. Let me first show you where we are on the map. So this is the US, and we are here in Minnesota, in the heart of our state's largest city, Minneapolis. As you can see here, we're located quite close, about 3 kilometers away from the event that sadly brought international attention to our city last summer in the killing of George Floyd. And now we finally narrow it down to the neighborhood in our city that Norway House calls home, Ventura Village. It sits among the most diverse neighborhoods in the US, with perhaps about 100 languages spoken, and one of them being, of course, Norwegian. We are a neighborhood of migrants, both recent and less recent. 100 years ago, our neighborhood was heavily populated with recent immigrants from Norway and Sweden, and many with few resources and limited English proficiency. A number of important institutions for Norwegians and even Swedes are located close to us, and the Danes, of course. It is also home to Native American or American Indians who have moved from indigenous reservations around our state of Minnesota and the whole US to create a cultural and political hub for American Indians. We will be hearing shortly from Mary Lagarde, Executive Director of the Minneapolis American Indian Center. It was right here in our neighborhood where they formed what became a nationwide movement called the American Indian Movement in the 1970s to reassert indigenous identities in American society. So it is a neighborhood rich in diversity and of particular significance both to American Indians and to Norwegian Americans. Some might even say it is the heart of Norwegian America, here in the most Norwegian big city in the US, in the region of the US where 1/3 of Norway's population migrated in the late 19th and 20th century. Our new cultural center at Norway House shares the block with our older institution, Minnekirken, the Norwegian Lutheran Memorial Church, soon to be celebrating their 100th anniversary, as America's last remaining Norwegian-speaking American church. Between Norway House and Minnekirken, we work to connect the Norwegian Americans to their identity and to modern Norway through arts, business, and culture, and in the case of Minnekirken, faith. We will also be hearing later on from Gunnar Christiansen, current pastor at Minnekirken. It is also this neighborhood and adjoining areas that are the heart of the Somali community, what is the largest urban population of Somalis outside of Africa. Many of our Somali neighbors, in fact, have family ties to Norway and Sweden, and many of them have also lived there. So we Norwegians, when we parade through the streets for 7th of Mai and sing songs and wear our Norwegian bunads, our Somali neighbors are perhaps the only other people in the neighborhood not confused on that day. It is now my pleasure to introduce Mary Lagarde, Minneapolis American Indian Center Executive Director, followed by Gunnar Christiansen, pastor at Minnekirken Norwegian Lutheran Memorial Church.
I'll go back a few years. So years ago, it was during the time of relocation with the American Indian population. Our grandparents had lived on the reservations, and this is really generational. For instance, myself, my grandparents lived on the White Earth reservation in northern Minnesota, and they were offered the opportunity to leave the reservation and move to a more of a metro area. This particular neighborhood, this was the site where a lot of our families moved to. And over the years, this has really become, you'll see the signs out there, it's the American Indian Cultural Corridor. And, you see a lot of our nonprofit organizations in the community that, provide various services for our American Indian population. We have Little Earth of United Tribes, which is not too far away, and that's home to, about 1,000 American Indians in a 9-block area. And so the community here is, I would say very diverse tribally, but also, there's just a strong connection to one another and to the area. This is where, Minneapolis, St. Paul, this is where the American Indian movement got its start. And, I think, a lot of us, grew up in the days of the American Indian movement. It was very, very vocal, very powerful, through the 70s. And worked a lot for the rights, working against police brutality, working against, the mascots, and making changes like that. I think the benefits are definitely that, just being able to share and to get to know one another's culture more. I think that has definitely, been a benefit. We have, we're living in an area where, like you said, it's very diverse. This area has, a large number of Somali, a large number of Latinx, different communities or different, people of color that have moved into the area. And, it does have its benefits. It does have its challenges too. And, I think that when the Somali community first moved in, when they started moving here, I noticed that, there was violence between the American Indian teenagers and the Somali teenagers. And it was at that time that there were groups that got together and formed a American Indian Somali Friendship Committee to really work at addressing the issues, addressing the violence, having those opportunities for each to get to know each other. And I think that helped. We need to do more of that, amongst all of us, and just have those opportunities so that we aren't isolated. That we are working together, and we need more of those friendship committees to spring up and be a part. Just making sure that this building will be here for generations to come, so that our grandchildren and those after have a cultural center that really is grounded in American Indian culture. And the intent really is that this will be not only social services, but a place for community to gather. So our community members need that place. They want that place, that gathering place. And here at the Minneapolis American Indian Center, since we do have the largest venue of our American Indian organizations. We have a full court gym, which gets utilized a lot for powwows, for round dances, and other cultural activities. And so that will all be here. Of course, we'll have office space, and our cafe will be larger, more accessible along the street, and provide healthy indigenous foods.
Hello everyone, my name is Gunnar Christiansen and I'm a current pastor in the Kitchen we are standing just in front of right now. And this beautiful church is located downtown Minneapolis in the neighborhood. You can see when you go inside what a beautiful church we have here. And it's very interesting to see the history of this church from the first years, because it was actually a huge youth gathering and a youth club that initiated to have their own Norwegian-speaking church in this neighborhood. It was not without fights and not always so happy about that. There was a governor, not in this state, but in a neighbor state, who uttered that no one should speak anything else than American in the churches. So many people have said that we can talk English in our daily language and in our daily use, but when we pray to God and our religious or spiritual language is our hometown, our home language. I think we are kind of a special church in many ways. Of course, also because of our Norwegian heritage, but also because we have more associate members than full members. And the reason for that is that very many are member of their neighborhood church. But when they grew older and their kids no longer go to Sunday school or to youth club in their own neighborhood church, they feel we should also belong to the Norwegian church, because they are Norwegians in their heart still. And then they come here, and then they sign up. So has been rumors that this church has been dying like 100 years because we have always had quite old members. But there are old members coming in all the time. So I think they will still be like that 50 years from now, actually. That is so important to strengthen the connections with the indigenous people around here, because Norwegians also have a large group of indigenous people, 6 different groups of Sami populations in Norway. And I've been working with them, particularly with one group called the Peter Sami the last couple of years. This block now, where Norway House, that you represent, and Minneapolis here, will be a very strong community, Norwegian American community. And I think it will be one of the most, maybe the most significant Norwegian American center in the US.
Thank you so much for including Norway House and for listening to our presentation today. I hope you've learned something more about our community and our neighbors, and we certainly hope to have you come visit us in the near future and see our new event center here on Franklin Avenue Cultural Corridor. Thank you. Tusen takk.
So thank you to Christina Carleton and Norway House. Also want to thank Vestfold Telemark County Council and Dan Sivertsen for helping us connect with Norway House and to have them create this video for us. So thank you.